Hey guys, this is Kirk from DFS Bros. Just doing a little recap on how we did in week 8 and going to give you our picks for week 9.
All right. So in week 8, it wasn't our best week yet. We had two back-to-back weeks in week 7, no, week 6 and 7, where Kirk and I both did very well in our picks. But last week it was about middle of the road, about 50-50. Burrow and Tannehill both got 18 points. They weren't the worst quarterbacks on the slate, but they also weren't the best. They were just eh. Kareem Hunt and Josh Jacobs. Kareem Hunt, the Browns didn't get many opportunities this game. I think the Raiders held them to only 6 possessions because the Raiders were bleeding the clock so much. And he only got about, I think, 6 or 7 fantasy points. Josh Jacobs got 31 carries for 128 yards, and that's a very good real-life day. But he didn't reach the end zone at all, which hindered his fantasy value for last week, even though he had a great game. Keenan Allen had over 20 fantasy points, had a fantastic game. A.J. Brown disappointed me completely. He completely disappeared the entire game. Jonnu Smith and Harrison Bryant, which were both Kirk's picks, as I did not pick a tight end last week. They were both terrible. Game script just went away from them, and the games themselves were extremely terrible. It wasn't that Jonnu and Harrison were terrible; it's the games that they were in were terrible. Miami D and Packers D. Miami defense exploded last week and made the Rams regret even traveling to Miami, in my opinion. And the Packers D got exactly 0 points. I wish I had paid down for Miami's defense as like Kirk did and all of his lineups. On FanDuel, I had a lot of Miami D everywhere because they were even cheaper there. But Packers D had a lot of on DraftKings because I just felt like the price was too good for Packers defense.
Yeah, paying down at defense seems like the thing this year. Just find that one, and it really is kind of a crapshoot. Only usually one of those 2,500 and less keep hitting. But last week the weather really killed lineups. You didn't need the typical 3x per player. If you got 2x, 2.2 value out of them, then you hit. Or if you just get lucky, like Dolphins D, they really exploded for your team. And if you could at least just avoid the Jimmy G injury, then you turned out pretty well.
Right. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and let Kirk take over with his quarterback pick for this week.
All right. So to me, it was a tough decision. There's 2 QBs I'm in love with this week. Both have insane upside. Could be QB1. But this week I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, he's coming off of a bye. They're 1-6. They still have that new coaching regime that's trying to make the name for themselves. But it's mainly due to Jacksonville's inability to play defense at all. So right now, the Jags are the worst team in scoring opportunity. They allow more points than anyone else. 77% of their drives end up in a touchdown against them. So Deshaun Watson and company are explosive, huge play opportunity. So far, Rivers scored 19, Tannehill scored 26, Fitzpatrick scored 25, Burrow scored 19, Watson scored 30 just 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Herbert went off for 41. I foresee a 28 to 35 point player in Watson this week, and it's a great tournament and cash play for me.
Yeah, I love Deshaun Watson this week, and I love all of his weapons as well. For me, my quarterback is Josh Allen. I think the Bills are going to have a bounce-back game. The last few weeks after starting 4-0, they have not played the best football in the world. They got crushed by the Titans. I believe they lost. They didn't lose to the Jets, but they almost did, and they just haven't been looking too good at playing football. They got crushed by the Chiefs as well. I think this is a get-right game for Josh Allen and the Bills against Seattle's defense, who cannot stop the pass, cannot stop anything. And I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think both quarterbacks have the ability to get over 30 points in this game. So,
yeah, I love Josh Allen. He's got the rushing upside. It looks like the weather's going to actually be really good in Buffalo. So keep track on that, as you saw last week. Weather does play a huge role, especially when there's wind. But yeah, Josh Allen, great play. Mullen scored 19 on this team in a half. So Seattle is just funneling points to the quarterback and wide receivers.
Right. And then with that being said, for some reason there's a huge misconception of West Coast teams coming to the East Coast for 1 o'clock games. Most of the time they're bad games, but Seattle seems to be immune to that. Every time Seattle has a 1 o'clock game on the East Coast, it is usually a high scoring game. If you go back and look at the history of it, I think they score over 25 more than not. And that's big for a West Coast team coming to the East Coast because it's I believe it's 10 a.m. on the West Coast there, so it's still pretty early in the day. So Kirk's going to tell us about his running back unless he has anything else on our quarterbacks.
No, so far as running back, I'm going to kind of stay in the same game. It's going to be a game stack that I'm going to love to play this week, which is James Robinson at 7,000. He's at home versus a bottom 3 rush defense. He's the only thing they have. They're going to Jake Luton, who's a 6th-round rookie QB from Oregon State. Doesn't really have a winning track record in college, just an quarterback. But in their last 9, Jacksonville's D's allowing over 130 yards to the RB1. They're allowing over a rushing touchdown to the RB1, 1.2 a game, and which is 32nd in both categories. So against the running back one, they're the best matchup you can possibly have. In the last 2 of the last 5 games, Robinson's exploded for 30-plus points, and in 3 of the last 6, he's gotten over 24 points. He's a guy that still is not a household name. People aren't going to gravitate to him except for seeing that little green tag beside his name. So far against the Texans, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has disappointed everyone since week 1. But in week 1, he scored 22 against the Houston Texans. Baltimore, their trio of running backs scored 15, 7, and 7. Connor scored 28. Cook scored 32. Henry scored 43. And Jamal Williams scored 22. So you're seeing on average 30 points gets dropped on this team by the running back. So he's involved in the receiving game a lot now. Like I said, he's the only thing they have. If this game's going to end up being close, it's going to be because of James Robinson.
Yeah, James Robinson's a good pick. I feel like every single time I play James Robinson, I get burnt, though. Last time he played the Texans, I believe he only had 9 points.
He had 11. That was his one real bad game. Every other game, he scored like 14-plus, which would be at least 2x value. But like I said, it looks like a great spot, but he's going to be a little chalky. And we saw Hunt was in a great spot last week. So it's not an all-in play, but I'm confident.
Yeah. So my running back is James Conner for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The game script for James Conner in this game is unbelievable and should be fantastic. Everyone's been able to run on the Dallas defense. Everyone's been able to score on the Dallas defense. It's been a defense that's just been bleeding points at every single position. James Conner, when healthy, is a bell cow back. He should get over 20 carries. And if you give James Conner over 20 carries, he will more than likely not find the end zone and get over 100 yards. I think James Conner's in line for a fantastic day this Sunday.
Yeah, James Conner's a great pick. Just worry about the injury. Worry about Snell scoring that 1-yard touchdown run. And Roethlisberger and those receivers could have a 4 or 5 touchdown game. But you're going to see massive volume from Conner against one of the worst defenses in the league. And it's a great stack if you can afford the Steelers defense. I know nowadays people don't see that as a conventional thing, but both are in great spots. And
I agree. So with that being said, we're going to get on to our wide receivers.
All right, so I'm going to continue in the same exact game with Brandon Cooks. He's 5,500. He's the wide receiver 2 for Deshaun Watson, who's looking more like the wide receiver 1. He's gotten 8, 8, and 12 targets in the last 3 games. So he's seeing wide receiver 1 opportunity. And the Jags have 1 excellent cornerback and 1 awful cornerback. The good cornerback held Fuller to 4 of 8 for like 50 yards. Fuller did end up scoring a touchdown, but Cooks was heavily involved in that game. He went 8 for 12 for 161 yards and a touchdown, which ended up being 33 DraftKings points,
Mhm.
Fuller has Cooks has great track record versus the Jags. His previous two games, besides that 33-point score, was 19 and 27, where he had 6 for 8 for 100 yards and 5 for 7 for 123 and a touchdown. So we have great history, great QB, great game pace. Um, he's getting a lot of target volume. He scored 2 of the last 3 games. Sidney Jones is the top corner. He's right now one of the top 10 rated in the league. And like I said, he'll be on Fuller the whole entire game. So I think it's a safe floor. It's 5,500. I think he needs to be right around the $6,200 range, and he has that tournament winning upside that could give you the 25 plus points you need to take down a big tournament.
Sorry, I was just confused about hearing Sidney Jones being a good cornerback after he completely failed us in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah, go look at where they're ranking him this year. I'm not sure if it's more or less that he's being a great shutdown guy, or if he's more like the Raiders guy Asamoah years ago, where he was great in Oakland, and no one wanted to throw to him at all because they were afraid, and so they just picked on the other cornerbacks. And then when he went to Philly, everyone picked on him. He was trash.
Sidney Jones was drafted by the Eagles in the second round after he tore his Achilles in college, and then was just plagued with injuries his 4 years here. So if he's actually playing well now, I'm happy for him. But at the same time, it's like, dude, why couldn't you do that in Philadelphia? But onto my wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, one of the best route runners in the NFL, should get a lot of volume in this game. I suggest stacking Josh Allen with Diggs and then rotate between Beasley and John Brown, then run it back with either Metcalf or Lockett. I will have a lot of combinations of Allen, Diggs, and then rotate those last 4 pieces and pick 2 of the 4 for each lineup. This is a game I want like every piece in. I think it's going to be a great game as far as game stacking. There's a lot of opportunity for a lot of points here. Diggs is seeing 10 plus targets in almost every single game. He's been an elite wide receiver to start the year. He's one of the top priced wide receivers on DraftKings. I think Stephon Diggs is in line for a great week this week.
Yeah, we saw this team get torched by Parker, Thielen, Hopkins, all for 25 plus points. My only problem is his price tag. There's running backs I really like this week. Kind of we saw in the Millie Maker last week, the guy had Derrick Henry and Cook. So I kind of wanted to have the same build, lock in my for sure points at running back, and I'm just not able to get to Diggs. I do love all of the weapons for Josh Allen this week. I'm just seeing Diggs project out to maybe 22 points, and I'm trying to find that 5K receiver this week that's going to get me the same points. Diggs is only had one 30-point game all year. I know that's a lot to ask for, but $7,400 receiver, I'm wanting a little bit more, a little greedy.
Yeah, speaking of that Millie Maker win, I saw a tweet saying that this is the first time in Millie Maker like history to where the running I don't know if it's history or if it's just this year plus last year or something like that. But the person who made the lineup had 2 running backs over 6,000 and 3 wide receivers under 5,000. And Kirk knows me. That used to be my strategy. I used to plug in the 3 top price wide receivers and then throw darts at 3 top price running backs and throw darts at wide receivers under 5K. It is nice to see someone finally win $1 million with that strategy that I used to use. So that being said, we're going to get into our tight ends unless Kirk has anything else to add on to that.
No, that's about it. Tight end this week, there's a couple options I did like. The one I'm kind of going to now is a guy that you've heard me talk about a lot, Hayden Hurst. Hurst will be home versus Denver. Denver's defense has been looking pretty bad. Ridley's still questionable. If Ridley does end up playing, I'm going to back off of my Hayden Hurst exposure and move to like $2,800 backup Denver tight end just because of how bad they're funneling points to the tight end. I can try. We'll give this another shot. Nick made me promise I wouldn't try.
No, I'm kidding. You don't have to try if you don't want to.
Albert Okwina Bage. I like how I always put an extra syllable at the end of everything. But
Yeah,
yeah, just
it's
a
not
just a
how you
quick
pronounce
pivot off of him.
Ezekiel.
Atlanta's the worst against tight ends. He's been getting actually looks because their receiving core just isn't showing up and have all banged up. If he gets the couple of targets he needs, he can end up with another 7-point day. He scored 6, 13, and 7 in his only 3 games played. And I would take any of that at 2,800. So if Ridley's in, play Hurst. If not, pivot down to Albert Okwina Bagu.
Oh my goodness gracious. It's fun watching you pronounce names sometimes. So I didn't have a tight end that I wanted to pick last week, and I didn't have one I wanted to pick this week until Kirk and I recorded our head-to-head video, and I was forced into taking a tight end, and I had to make a decision. And I'm just gonna go with the tight end that I picked in that video, which is Will Disley. He's 2,700. Great opportunity, great red zone target for Russell Wilson. It's a player that I'd like to have in my Josh Allen stacks. I like to stack 2 and then run back with 2 if I can. And it's almost impossible to get a lineup with Metcalf and Lockett. And usually it seems to be the case, at least for the last 4 or 5 weeks, that if one of the receivers is having a good game, the other one is not having such a great game. So to offset that, to get the double stack on the run back, I will add in Will Disley. A few weeks ago, I had Greg Olsen, but I think Will Disley is a bigger red zone target, especially for in a game like this.
Yeah, like you're just touchdown hunting at this point. I just really don't like. I feel like Seattle every week has a great tight end spot, and all 3 end up being somewhat under subpar just because they split it. And if maybe there were 2 tight ends, it would be more efficient. Or if there was one, they would be an elite option week to week. But it's just really hard with a trio.
That's fine. I'll take my shot and hope one of the touchdowns goes to him.
Yeah. Luckily, you're not playing that above 3K price tag, that 3,500 and up on form.
Yeah, because if at 2,700, all you need's what was that?
So I think you learned your lesson paying like 3,700 for Olsen one week.
Yeah, it was like 36. But yeah, if Will Disley gets 1 reception, 10 yards for a touchdown, that's 8 points, which pays off a 3x value. So I'm completely fine with that. You're not asking for much if you're paying for any position under 3K. You're just hoping that they get like 6 or 7 points. So we're gonna go into our defense now.
All right, so a theme that we've kind of picked on a lot this year is picking on Washington. Washington is at home versus a division rival, Giants. The Giants did score 14 on them last time. Last time they played, half of my lineups did have Washington, which didn't turn out that well. I think they only scored about 4 points and were very popular. But the other half, I did pivot to the Giants, which paid off. So I'm just trying to follow that same theme. I do feel like Washington's in a better spot. I would probably want Washington to over Giants this week just because the Monday Night Football lag. I'm one of the believers in that. I don't like teams when they play on Monday and have to play again on Sunday. That extra day does matter. We're talking about a game of inches. But I'm just looking at a team that makes a lot of mistakes. Pretty much only has 2 explosive weapons. If they can kind of just control either Scary Terry. And they do have a good cornerback, but it's very Terry McLaurin is just on another level right now, just tearing it up with no QB play whatsoever. And if they can just stop the running game, Antonio Gibson is really coming out of his shell. He's looking like a great running back if he could just maybe get a somewhat good offense to be playing with.
Yeah, this Washington football team, they're turning into a team that has Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson. They have 2 fantastic targets. It's almost like what the Panthers had last year with Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore. You couldn't trust anything but those 2. But no, yeah, I like the Giants defense a lot. I believe I picked them last time that Washington played them. I believe. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look at our video. I think they're a fantastic option to pay down at if I cannot fit in the defense that I will be talking about, and that's the Steelers defense, the highest priced defense in DraftKings history, and that is fact checked and confirmed. And I think it's rightfully so. 4,900. Look and see what they did to the Ravens. They had a pick six and a bunch of other things. I think this Dallas offense is absolutely disgusting, absolutely terrible, and there's no reason anyone should pay for any other two differences other than the Steelers and Giants.
Quick thing. Did the Patriots last year reach 5K at any point in time?
I do not believe they did. Someone I've seen multiple tweets saying this is the highest priced defense
Okay.
in history.
The Patriots are averaging like 17 points last year. And for some reason, I've envisioned them against Miami or against the Jets being something absurd, and me being me paying for it. For some reason, I think they were like 5,100, something insane. But if you've seen it, it probably is true.
If that was the case, I regret not playing them in a lot more lineups than I did. Because
after I think week 3, I just started printing money with Patriots defense. It was insane to watch people try to keep playing these $2,400, $2,700. This year we haven't really seen a defense like that. But the spot that the Steelers are in and how Dallas is in pure panic mode. The only thing that's saving grace for them is that division is awful. But as Nick knows, the Eagles look better and are getting healthier week by week. But it's disgraceful how bad Wentz was this week.
Yeah, at this point,
matchup.
At this point, I think Dallas needs to just start tanking and hope for a better pick. Same with Washington and same with New York, and just let Philadelphia take the division. That's just my opinion.
So are you ready to say that Wentz is not that great of a quarterback yet?
No, Carson Wentz is still the truth.
All right, so I think we had some really good picks this week, some really good game stacks that are cash and GPP options. Let's try to go ahead and take down another big one this week. We've had pretty productive, profitable last 3 or 4 weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. We are recording this on a Thursday morning, so they still have tomorrow's practice plus the injury report. If you want to get more information, you can follow us on Twitter. Our links to our Twitters will be in the bio if you do want to get more insight. So with that being said, make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you guys. Hope you have a profitable week 9 and have a good one.